Let's go! Game not over.
Hey, everybody. It's another episode of Indies Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. With me, as always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good. I feel like I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks at least.
I think it's been 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Since the last time we had the show.
I might have talked to you a little bit on text, but
Yeah, I made my way out to the cinema, I think, in between.
Yeah, that's right. You saw Licorice Pizza?
Yeah,
That
I
was a
liked it a
great
lot.
movie, dude.
Oh, it was awesome. I can only hope that it's like a Best Picture contender because I enjoyed it that much, and I just can't think of anything else that came out that is probably better than it. You know what I mean?
At that level, yeah. It's almost
Yeah.
like, wouldn't you say that's a good companion piece to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, like it's almost like a light version of that.
It's almost like the two movies were happening concurrently, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I love Bradley Cooper in it. I think it's awesome. That whole sequence is great.
Yeah, he had. I was reading. I know we're getting off on a tangent right at the
We're
beginning
so
of the show,
tangenting hard right now, but that's okay because it's a
It's
good
all right.
movie and people should check it out.
Yeah, Licorice Pizza is a great movie especially if you like P.T. Anderson, the director. I was
Or
reading
70s
about it.
movies, like 70s, like Dazed and Confused, like
And,
that kind of vibe.
That kind of vibe, but also like authentic 70s. Like I hate when a filmmaker makes a period piece, but then they're talking like with modern talk, like
Yeah.
that didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
What I was going to say though was I read a bizarre thing, and I don't know what P.T. Anderson's like criteria was, but did you notice in the movie like he had Bradley Cooper playing John Peters, the famous
John Peters, yes,
out of his mind producer. But then
Kevin Smith famously talks about John Peters and the whole Superman debacle that he's a part of. If you haven't seen it, YouTube Kevin Smith Superman, and you'll hear the story. Right.
But also, he has because Lucille Ball is clearly in the movie, but she's called something else. He has he didn't say what it was, but he has this weird criteria about when he uses a real person's name versus like having the real person in there, but with a fake name. I don't know. It's really bizarre. But great movie.
It was weird.
If you guys are into 70s stuff, if you just like good movies, check that out.
Yeah.
The best
if you like to watch two people run to the person that they love to, then that's a good movie for that too.
Yes.
Literally a good 5 to 10 minutes of that movie is them running to each other.
Yes.
Because they love each other so much.
It was great. But anyways, so what else you been up to, Johnny? Anything good in the world of comics? Anything new?
So fulfillment. A lot of fulfillment's been going down.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you about that. How's that all going?
So I've got about 3 tiers almost completed of fulfillment. Okay. I've got everything in except for the coffee. Having a little bit of a hang up with the coffee vendor at the moment, so that's a little bit delayed, but everything else is moving smoothly, and I should hopefully have things out by the at the latest the end of next month.
Awesome, man. Yeah, people,
Yeah,
as long as you update the campaign and let people know, no one will mind waiting for the perk, especially when they know they're gonna get fresh coffee,
Yeah.
So,
I'm and that's the thing too, is I'm overdue for an update, as I always am, but I don't like to bother people. So I just try to space it out, and I'm getting to the point where I can
one a
almost feel
month,
like, okay, I need an update. Yeah.
I'm on I get campaign I probably get campaign updates like every other day from somebody.
I get too many. I got to start muting them.
Some of them are good updates, and some of them are just like, "Hey, man, here's what's happening this week," And,
I mean, a lot of them are friends, though. You know what I mean? My friends have several books, so when they launch a campaign, it's like they send a note to every campaign. Next thing I know, I got like 10 notes in my in my folder, all from the same person. Where I'm like, I already talked to them on text a week ago, saying, "Hey, I'm going to launch my campaign soon." You know what I mean?
It's so true, dude.
Yeah.
Not much on my front. I just been busy.
Yeah,
did I tell you I'm planning? I could probably share this with everybody, but I've been planning to go part-time at my regular job. Probably.
Yeah, has that happened yet?
Not yet.
Next month?
I kind of just told them at the beginning of this month. We have a new employee, so I'm kind of waiting till she's like, can take on these responsibilities fully. So, but they're, I work for a solar company, so they're very very chill company.
Yeah.
So, I plan on working like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then having Thursday, Fridays to work on comic stuff, or even I don't know. I'm going to divide my time between a couple things. I'm going to do Plastic City stuff. I'm going to do, stuff for the YouTube channel, and then also going to work on comics, and then also try to up my lettering game, try to get more lettering gigs. So if anybody out there is crowdfunding and needs a letterer, hit me up. Either message me here or so.
And I can say a highly recommended letterer right here. If you read the back half of issue 2 is Surrounded by Death, it's a great example of how awesome of a letterer Keith is.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. So I'm hoping, and I mean, I even told you kind of on the slide, but I can probably mention it here, but I'm kind of even thinking about possibly doing another convention too. It's just in the early thinking about it stage,
Yeah.
The fact that I have more time to work, that's the biggest enemy for a creator, and tonight's guest will know too. But time is your biggest enemy, and it's and if you can't have that, then it's it's hard to do everything. But I'm gonna try to make it work. I think, as long as I have a little bit of income coming in, I think I can make it work. So we'll see.
So in terms of just juggling everything, the only key would be his regimen. I think that's one of the things that I'm going to try to start doing more of for 2022 is setting a set schedule just for not only just for work, comics, but life. I used to have a regimen, and then my life changed, and then my life changed again, and I lost it.
Yeah,
so it's
I think that's
gotta kind of get back into the groove.
Yeah, right. I even on the weekends I try to do a lot of stuff for my comics. And then, I set aside a couple hours to watch a movie at night or whatever, or
that's important too, though. That time is important.
It really is.
You know what I mean?
That release, and even Amy, during the week when I get out of work, I just want to come home and relax and watch TV and stuff. And even her, she wants to be creative as well. So she's like, you're going to give me a couple nights where I can not watch TV with you and just go and do artwork. And I was like, yeah, it definitely makes sense,
Yeah, absolutely. But you got to see, but even for us, where we're writers as well, we also need to feed our imagination, feed our creativity, and a lot of that comes from the inspiration and things we watch or things we read or things we listen to. You know what I mean?
It's true. You need that downtime, and definitely, I agree with you there. So let's take a look at the chat. We'll see who's in here tonight, and then we'll head on over to our guest as well. So let's see. We got Ara with us tonight as always. What's up, Ara? Good to see you, buddy.
Thanks for hanging out, Ara.
Yep, and I know he's always here.
God bless you, Ara, for being here.
He's always a joy to see at conventions. If you guys don't know Ara, he's such a good guy. very
Awesome.
loves indie comics, loves comics, loves
Patron
creators.
saint of indie comics.
He is. He really is.
100%.
My wife, of course, in the chat.
Hey, Amy.
Willie Draws. Hey, Viva la Indies. What's
Viva
up,
la
buddy?
Indies. Yeah, cheers
that's a
to
new
that.
person. I don't know who Willie Draws is. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Hey, he says. Let me see. We got other people here. Just going through all the comments. We got Johnny C in the house.
Hey, look at that.
There he is. And Harry joining us tonight. Are you dedicating this show to Saget?
Yes. Oh God.
I
Rest
know,
in
right?
peace, Bob Saget. Yeah.
I know,
man. This one's for you, buddy.
Did they confirm that it was an OD yet, or what?
No, and that's the funny thing too, is that I think this one was just plain old like heart failure or something. I don't think there was any anything. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that his act and his routine lent itself for you to believe something like that. I think this was just plain old, like maybe he even caught COVID and was byproduct or something. Something just wasn't clicking right.
Like that comedian's death, where it's like you're alone in a hotel room with nobody. You know what I mean? Like it's
like
kind of sad. I should watch Dirty Work this weekend in honor of him.
I've watched that recently for
Norm, right?
Norm Macdonald, yeah, man, and we got Betty White in the middle of it too. Like,
I know,
rest in peace, all these awesome people.
It comes in threes, right? So the third one today was it Ronnie Spector? I saw on Twitter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw somebody. So I think that was the third one today. So.
The
3 is closed off for now.
Yeah, for real. Man,
right,
it's like Final Destination up in this piece.
I know. Right? I love those movies. But before we bring in tonight's guest, I wanted to take a look at, of course, the fall or the winter campaign here.
Yeah, where are we at?
We're at 13.5, it looks like, 307 backers. So I know Pete was telling us the other day that he's almost finished fulfilling the fall campaign, which is crazy.
Cool.
Like the amount of go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how is this campaign pacing to the previous one? Are we for time? Are you guys at the same point that you were previous, or
further with the fall campaign at this point? The difference is, though, Pete's been busy fulfilling the campaign and not promoting it as much. So I think once he comes back and starts streaming again, I think we'll see a nice bump in this campaign, because it's at 13 now. I bet this one could hit 20 or 25 by the time it's all done. The odd thing is it's trying to launch it right before Christmas, and it's still doing, as far as I'm concerned, pretty damn good for
I'd say so, yeah, for sure. I mean, given the track record so far, I mean, it looks like it's tracking pretty well, even if it's not as far along as the previous campaign. I mean, if that's activity on its own movement, then that's pretty darn good,
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing I like about this is, like, whenever he does a new one, he's going to offer the old issues. So if you kind of come in, like, you missed all this stuff, the old ones will be on there. So, like, you can just come in and kind of buy them all, which is amazing.
It's good to have those catch-up tiers.
Yes, exactly. And the one thing I wanted to show is the 2 cards that are coming in this set. So every campaign you back, you get the next 2 alternate trading cards. So these are the next 2, Mr. Crypt and then the Legends of Log, which I just love the design of this character. He's so
awesome. Yeah, that's so cool.
Piece of wood,
Yeah.
So I love that he has the stats on the back. So if people ever wanted to, like, sit down and make, like, a game or something, totally could, So
yeah, absolutely. It's like the old Marvel cards.
Yeah, definitely. So if you guys haven't backed this yet, there's 10 new issues here. This is how Alterna's doing solicitations now. There's no more diamonds. All this money goes to the creators and the printing of the books, which is awesome. So,
well, this direct market is the way the future for indies, in my opinion. I mean,
I think so too.
And as a matter of fact, I mean, as a good parlay to our guest, I'm very anxious to pick his brain, because he's dedicated to the craft full time right now, and he's working on platforms like Patreon, which I haven't, scratched the surface of yet. So I'm really excited to find out how he does all of that, plus juggles being a brand new dad.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to talk about all of that stuff. Before we do that, I want to see my wife said licorice pizza, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, murder and dog food cans to the head. Yes, that's right. Forgot about that. Fantastic movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
The Good Guys was a great 70s movie. Yes, it
was. That movie was awesome. Yeah.
Are you dedicating? Oh, I read that already.
Yep.
Let's go, Indie Comics.
Let's go.
Thanks, Ramon. Good.
Yeah,
good
man.
Yes, thanks for joining us here. Bob Saget was, what did she say, was number 3?
Bob Saget was 3.
Wait,
yeah.
Who was the first one then? I thought it started with Betty White, but maybe whatever.
We may have missed one in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And ours says, thanks for having Jack Holder. I've met him. I have his work. Great guy. Johnny, you introduced him to him. You introduced him to him.
Yeah. Well, I met Jack through my cousin Roger, so it's a small world. We're just kind of passing the acquaintance along.
That's awesome. So that's always great, and like I said, my wife said Sidney Poitier. That's right. I forgot about
Sidney Poitier. Lilies of the Field. Watch it. It was like one of his first movies. My absolute favorite. Nice. Not actually. I bet you if Jack's seen one of his movies, that's probably one he may have seen. But without further ado, we should bring Jack in.
Yeah, definitely. Let's. I know we've been yapping, so
we've been yapping way too much.
The off week, So
all right. For sure.
But without further ado, let's bring in tonight's guest, Jack Holder. What's up, Jack?
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys so much for having me on.
What's up, buddy? Cheers.
Thanks for listening to us yap backstage. We have to catch up after 2 weeks off. So.
Yeah, that's for sure.
How's it going, Jack?
It is going great. I am here. I haven't had a haircut in 9 months.
Looks great though.
No, I know. I like it.
You're bringing back like the 70s Greg Brady shag or something like. I like it.
My poor
it's like
daughter.
You could be part of licorice pizza,
Yeah, I know. You're playing the part of from the 70s.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm gonna get a haircut, and my poor daughter's gonna feel like some stranger invaded her house.
Yeah, probably. And you're coming up on how she's almost a year old, right? Or
6 months.
6 months.
Wow.
6 months.
Have you gotten into your groove, being a creator and also a dad?
Yeah, I write between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m.
Yes.
Oh wow, yeah. Because I was going to ask you about that. Because I imagine there's a lot of creators out there that watch us, or maybe watch this video after it's live, that probably have newborns and things like that. And I'm always fascinated how the time is juggled.
So with a newborn, I've been figuring this out. You can try and figure out some of your marketing, the business aspect of everything. Pretty much, if you can do it with a mouse or one-handed, you can do that and juggle a baby at the same time. You can't write at the same time.
That's true.
If you don't have a hand on the kid, she will let you know about it. Like every day, my daughter Lila seems to discover a new highest range for her screams.
Oh yeah, imagine.
She's just practicing her pitch. She's going to be a singer.
Yeah, there you go. And Harry said, being a dad is being a creator. Yeah, definitely.
Very much is.
I like that.
Except it's quieter, I would imagine. Unless you hear the voices.
The writing is quieter, yeah.
Yes. So is that for real? Like you find the time to write like between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m.?
Sometimes most nights I get a lot earlier, like 10 p.m. That's
right.
So generally what happens is my wife, who you guys know and like better than you like me.
No, that's not true.
I
We
like
like you
guys
equally
evenly.
as much.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
She hands the kid off before work at 8 a.m. and pretty much I'm juggling the kid till 5 p.m. And so many people are like, oh, being a stay-at-home parent is just a part-time job. No, it's a full-time job.
oh yeah,
Like,
you can't like let her out of your sight. You know what I mean?
you can't do anything. And she's still immobile. Like, she can't even really turn yet, which means I'm like training her to roll, figuring all that out. But you're pretty much if you're not in the same room as her, your awareness of that room is so heightened. And so 5 p.m. rolls around, and the parent that's been working, quote unquote, the real job rolls in, and you're like, take the kid. I've been watching movies with the kid all day, and yet I'm the one who's tired.
I know, right?
What's the choice? What's the choice viewing that you guys have when you sit down to watch movies?
So for me right now, I am getting down on my knees and thanking Disney Plus for existing, because I can actually get through all that stuff. I'm getting through that Clone Wars TV show that I never actually got into.
Okay. Yeah.
So
there's a lot of seasons there.
Oh yeah, I'm in the midst of season 4, and I get to do that. I get to catch up on my Supernatural. I pretty much am like, is there any cursing or nudity so I can just put that out? Like no. But other than that, and then I go, wait, that just took away a lot of my favorite stuff that I wanted to catch up on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Supernatural's a little risque at times. You know what I mean?
At times with the blood, yeah.
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 You gotta put the hand over her eyes, you know, if you're gonna watch
Supernatural.
at those
we
parts.
have done that on occasion.
Nice. So, and you're still able to keep up on the social media and everything else, huh? That's crazy. It's impressive.
It's just it's a willpower thing. It's a forcing through thing. This is the first Kickstarter I'm doing since Lila was born, and it's like she goes down for her nap. I'm like, okay, I need to write a new newsletter. I need to post 3 on 3 different sites, and I need to just get some flash fiction written while this is going on until she decides she's hungry.
Good. I'm glad you're being like regimented, you know? Like
right. I was going to say, what's your schedule? Like if you were to like break it down like in a day or maybe over a week, like what's basically like, you know, amongst managing the kid, what's your creativity schedule? Because I know that you're actually managing a few things. You have your mailing list. One of the things I wanted to pick your brain on a little bit is Patreon. You're one of the few creators I know that's actually embracing Patreon as a platform. So, you know, what type of attention has to go into that? And, you know, then just advancing your current creative work, like your books, and you have several books. So, I mean, just talk a little bit about juggling all this, aside from being the dad, which is kind of the most
give us like
part.
a typical week. Like, give us a typical week.
I would say a typical week currently doesn't exist. So come the new year, I've been doing something rather different I launched the new Kickstarter on the 4th, and what I've been trying to do with Kickstarters is a daily flash fiction, which is less than 1,000 words.
Okay.
So what's been happening really is while I'm juggling the kid, I'm constantly on my phone going, can I literally just like retweet or reshare one of my own things, the things that I did before, and jotting down one-handed everything. Ara, good evening. You are an amazing super backer, and you should totally be recognized for that. It is awesome, and I get to actually see you this year. But for me, creatively, the things that I'm juggling right now, Johnny's right. I've got Patreon, which has got 2 different short story series going on there. I've got a daily flash fiction that's going to run through the end of the campaign. I just finished up book 4 of a 5-book series. I'll be starting book 5 soon. The editor is going over the first draft of book 1, and I'm constantly just re-going over the Legend of the Realm comics, so I can actually finish up issues 4 through 6, so we can actually have the entire arc set for Evan before he starts issue 2.
Oh wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot on your plate.
That is crazy.
Luckily, again, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so while Lila is screaming, sometimes I can be like, all right, just think of the books. Think of the books. Think of how much money I am saving because our government doesn't value stay-at-home parents. And I am saving more money being here than I am actually working a minimum wage job.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about the way it breaks down like that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like, and like I'm thinking too, even when, like I mentioned at the top of the show that I'm gonna go part-time, but I'm thinking like even when I cut the hours, the money I save just in taxes might even might not even be that bad. Like,
Keith, the money you're going to save in gasoline alone is bananas. If I think and just like think about the money I spend and just gas, getting back and forth to work, it's crazy. It's like a good chunk of my check.
Yeah,
and it's just
you have
the nature
a crazy commute too. Like,
I know
it's
where
not
you
too
live. Bad, but
but I imagine
it's a little bit of a hike.
You must spend at least 100 or less on gas a week, I would imagine. Now with the prices,
at least 100 per pay period, so it's like 50 a week.
That's
almost.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe even a little bit more. Actually, so lately it's been more. So like, it's more like 120 or 130, and that's just like I also run around doing other stuff too. So
right.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Isn't this like one of the weird things, benefits of the pandemic, though, is so many companies realized, wait, we don't need to force our employees to fight through traffic between the hours of 6 and 9. And
they were doing that for a while, and then then it was that weird period between these last two variants where all of a sudden like everybody come back to the office now. Like, did that happen to you, right, Johnny?
Yeah, everybody's like, come back to the office, and now people are going, no, wait, stay home again.
Yeah, exactly. And now, that just happened at our job too, like 2 weeks ago. They're like, oh, now go back to one day coming in a week,
So we were talking about the theaters earlier. Just a little anecdote is that when I went to go get the tickets for Licorice Pizza, they were saying at the ticket booth that they're now instilling the seat away rule again, that at the beginning of the pandemic, when they reopened theaters, they're trying to get things going again, that they had that like seat away rule. Now they've, they did away with it, but now they're actually bringing it back again. And I'm sure Spider-Man was probably a good contributor to that.
Probably. The amount of money it made. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for real.
No spoilers. Still haven't seen it.
No, we won't. We won't.
We won't spoil a thing for you. Don't worry about it.
So, so tell us a little bit, because me and Johnny are kind of curious about the whole Patreon thing. Like, I've seen it around, and it didn't seem like it'd be something for me, but I'm kind of curious, if it's helpful or what you get out of it, that kind of thing,
So I look at Patreon, and for listeners who really don't know what it is, Patreon is, I don't want to say the opposite of Kickstarter, but that is a very, it's close enough to say. So Kickstarter is like that major event that you're paying at this one specific time, a one-time thing to help get a specific thing made. Patreon is almost like a subscription fee where you join and you give anywhere between $1, $3, $10 a month for certain ongoing benefits.
Okay.
So
as a writer, do you offer like a short novel every month or something like that, or?
Definitely not a short novel, not at this point.
Like a short.
So I offer a couple of short stories a month, usually around 5,000 words.
Okay.
And Johnny gets to read them because he's one of my Patreons, and I'm sure he reads it twice a month, every month.
let's just say I'm a little behind, but I'm happy to support.
Take your money, dude. I will take your money.
Well, that's what it's there for. It's, we definitely to support you. But I wanted to ask. I mean, like, so Patreon, like you said, it's a subscription service. So, you have to fulfill a subscription every single time. Have you had any roadblocks so far, or hang-ups, things that kind of hindered you in the process yet?
The major thing right now is keeping up with the Risen Mask, the second series. So one of the reasons I love doing this is the Demon Riders series, which is the first series. I had been stacking up these stories constantly. Demon Riders was actually my second book on Kickstarter, fantasy Western series. And I wrote the first book, and then I wrote the second book, but I couldn't put the funds together to actually get it illustrated, everything squared away at that point. And I kept going. I was midway through book 3, and every chapter for Demon Riders is pretty much its own short story. You can actually pick it up, put it down, whatever, and you can actually understand for the most part. And so I was looking at this going, why don't I serialize all of Demon Riders one a month, and let's see how far this goes out. And Johnny, I think I started the Demon Riders in middle or early of last year?
I think so, yeah. It was around that time frame.
And so I put all of my Demon Riders as scheduled out. That took me to July of 2023.
Oh, wow.
So what Johnny's seeing for the next year and a half is already squared away on that one. So I'm only writing a short story for the Risen Mask every month, and it's 5,000 words. I'm trying to write at least 1,000 words a day this year. That's one of my New Year's resolutions that are keeping up. And as a writer, it actually helps me to have to set down my major project, pick up again a short story series, and go through that. It helps refresh the mind instead of just getting myself into a rut. Because
practice too, right?
Exactly.
It's like I know with artists, they always there's always the warm-up sketch, before they do the actual whatever they're working on. So imagine it's the same with writers, I know I don't really do that when I'm bad, but I'm more of, I just think I'm a comic writer more than I don't write novels or anything like that. So when I sit down to write a comic, I just sit down and write the comic, How about you, Johnny?
I was going to say, but Keith, don't you go through a preparation period or some level of
I think about it a lot.
Pre-game or anything?
I do outlines, and I do I think about the plot for months before I actually sit down and write it. So when you sit down and write it, it's the path is forward is right there,
Yeah.
Did you do something similar, Johnny? Because I know you don't really write novels either, right? You just
No, I don't. I don't write novels, but I like to map out everything that I'm writing, even if I don't use everything I map out.
Yeah.
And so what I'll do is, and I do it in a very weird way, just because it works for me.
Okay.
But I'll write a subject or whatever my starting point is, and I'll write everything I can about that, and then I'll put a bubble around it, and then I'll do an offshoot, and then I'll write about things that connect to that. And then that might be a character, it might be a location, it might be a whatever, and then I'll connect to that. And then that will be another thread that, so if it's this is Batman, everything I know about Batman. And then over here is Gotham, and that connects to Gotham. This is everything I want to write about Gotham, and then I offshoot of that. These are the people in Gotham. And then, and that helps me expand and build my universe. So that way, when I go into the story, it's all well fleshed out. And that's basically my Bible. that I work off of, and that's kind of
Gotcha.
how I do things.
Do you sit down and do like an outline for the actual story, or no?
Depends on the scenario. I do that more often than not for short stories now. Okay. For longer stories, I'll do the bubble connectivity tissue method, except for Surrounded by Death, because on Surrounded by Death, that's a team effort. There's 3 of us that are collaborating on that book, so every creative choice kind of needs to be held as a committee. So I want to do this for the character. Okay, what say you? What say you? And then we all come together and we have an agreement. We had a little powwow last week about the logistics of the next 3 issues, where my artist was like, this wouldn't actually happen in real life and we need to address it. And then we were doing a lot of discussion of like the fine line between, okay, well, we're just a comic book telling a satire story, and this is feasible and what people are willing to digest and believe when they're reading a comic. You know what I mean? So we got to do a lot of that. Whereas if I'm an individual creator, that thought or that conversation doesn't normally happen for me. I don't know about you guys.
It's just one thing I wanted to say about your writing the bubble technique there. It sounds very similar to the way whenever I see stuff about television writers, like a television writing room, like you see all the Post-it notes on the board.
That's with like 100% where I stole it from.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah. So there's a documentary called Tales from the Script I highly recommend. Okay. That's TV writers and movie writers, and them talking about being failures and getting rejected and things like that. And they talk about their methodology, and that's one of them, is just kind of mapping things out before you go forward with it.
Yeah, that's interesting. How about you, Jack? Do you do something similar to that? Do you do the classic outline and then go right into it, or do you do stuff like what Johnny's describing?
So I usually do like the build out sort of thing. So like most of my writing comes out from the 2 questions: what could be cool and what could be meaningful. Okay. And like just letting the mind run and just typing it out on a keyboard, usually in a Google Drive. Then I'll expand that into a full concept, not a full story, really just like what could be interesting. And then literally from there, it's just, okay, so from there, I'm going to build an outline based on this concept. Then I'm going to take this outline and I'm going to break it out into chapters. Then I'm going to break it out into pages if it's a comic script. And then by that time, I've got the 24 to 28 pages, and then I'm just filling in the pages.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I kind of do the same thing in a weird way. Like I know what I want to, like I figure out what the issue is going to be about first. And then, if it's going to be more than one issue story or 2 or 3 or whatever. And then I break it down into an outline after that, and then figure it out from there. And then once I have the outline, I know what the story is, and then I just let the characters speak to each other in my head and just transcribe it. Sort of how I write.
We all kind of have our own sandbox. We all play in it different ways, right?
Yeah, and it's like what works for you, the way your mind puts stuff together. Like I've often talked to, I think I've told you, Johnny, I don't know if I told Jack, but like when I do a comic book, like I often can't visualize the pages right away. So when I write it, it's more of like the conversation. Like I just let the conversation play out on paper. Then I go back and once I have the whole script, I go back and do the breakdown per page after that. But I need to know the whole thing beforehand,
I think part of what makes 2 characters' conversations flow in writing feel seamless and feel like almost automatic is how well you know those characters, right? Yes. It's as much the time that you put into developing those characters helps immensely with the writing process. And there's times where I've even said where, the characters take over on the keyboard and I mentally check out. Next thing I know,
you just
conversations are banged out. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a comprehension of knowing the characters very well,
Oh yeah. Do you guys ever, like when you go to do your second your second draft like a couple months later, and you sit there and you read it, and it was like, I don't even remember writing this shit. Like it just kind of came out of you, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and you were just kind of on autopilot, you know? It's like, it's wild. Like sometimes I read it and I'm like, wow. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's all partly reflections of ourselves. Because, like, if I can pivot back to Jack for a little bit, like, I think a lot of his books, the following casework, as well as Legends of the Realm, are just portions, slight slices, a little bit of Jack's personality. Like, I see a little bit of Jack's fun side in the following casework for sure. Like, you know, and then I see a little bit more of, like, and not to blow up your spot, Jack, but you are a minister, right? So I see a little bit of that, or just a little bit of that influence, I should say, in Legends of the Realm. Personally, would you agree with me?
Absolutely. I started off this year, day 2. I was at the pulpit, and I had spent the last day of the previous year getting up at 3 a.m. so I could hit a flight. So I was nice and sleep deprived and preaching the word. Legends of the Realm is, once again, it's going through the questions of what is meaningful and what is cool. Like the Floated Dream is asking what the cost of a dream is, but at the same time and let's have giant amazing battles in a city above the clouds. So
I'll take a step back. So Legends of the Realm is your comic that you did a Kickstarter on it. Was it last summer? It was the first one. And then the first one was what, Torn Soul, but is Legends of the Realm the property? And then Torn Soul is like the title, I guess, of the chapter.
Legends of the Realm is the series. Torn Soul was the graphic novella / launch point.
Okay. And this is a fantasy series, right? Like it's got magic, I saw dragons and crazy creatures and things like that. Give us a little elevator pitch for it, so for people that aren't familiar with it.
So with the Floated Dream, Legends of the Realm is epic fantasy. It's a love letter to the genre.
Okay.
The main character is Camridian, the first mage ever appointed to the court of Danaspire. The king gives him a quest and a mission: go throughout the kingdom, see the magic of the world, and try and either capture some new magic or create some of it for yourself. And the first stop for Camridian is the floating city of Providentia, which you can see right here. A new city that's just sprung up, but it seems to be a utopia, exactly what Camridian is looking for. But as he journeys forth, he has to wonder what the cost of such magic is. What do you have to give up to live amongst the clouds?
So I want to just interject really quick, because if I recall correctly, this story also started in the comic book school anthology, right? Or at least had portions of it in it?
So Legends of the Realm, so we had the first story. Torn Soul was written way back in 2015, and it had rattled around for many, many years. But the comic book school was where it actually started to become a reality. Evan and I had worked together previously, and then the comic book school is like, hey, you get a chance to do anything. And Evan and I look at each other going, okay, let's see if we can actually make this character in this world actually be interesting. And so the comic book school anthology, the first story that was ever published was Camridian and the Lehman Lurkers, which is still free as a part of the anthology. We even got a second follow-up story in the second anthology, which came out after Torn Soul. And it's just a great opportunity because I love fantasy comics. I love fantasy books. The problem is there aren't that many great fantasy comics. And I'm not saying that fantasy comics are bad. I'm saying there aren't that many of them.
No, you're right. And I think that's why we're seeing more and more lately, because it seems to be like I noticed in the last like 2 years an influx of fantasy stuff, which is good because you're right. Because I don't remember seeing a ton of this stuff. It's usually just been dominated by superhero books and things like that. But yeah, how about you, Johnny? I don't like
I was just gonna say, well, just a quick throwback. The comic book school they were on for both anthologies recently, where I believe they name dropped the book Jack, and then also for fantasy books. You're right. There really hasn't been a lot, but in the last few months, at least the last 6 months, there's been a few. We had Bardic Versus, Matt Sumo's book. He was on our show, and we also had Grant's Side Quest.
Yeah.
He's on part 3 right now, or issue 3, and oh, is it 4? Yeah, he's on the 4th issue now, right? So it's like we're starting to see a lot more of these fantasy books pick up, which is great. It's great to see that genre is kind of alive and well still.
Exactly. And that's what I want to see a lot more of. Like, the thing that I love about fantasy comics, believe it or not, also it cuts down on the amount of description that is going on. Like, I can write for 6 pages and set the scene, or, Evan can just create it in artwork in a single panel, and people are going to understand it so much better than if I took that 6 pages.
Yep. And big shout out to Evan. Like, his artwork is just so beautiful. He messaged me in the past saying that he's open to work. He's open to take commissions and jobs. And I'm just looking for the right project where I can tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, man, let's do this thing together.
Yeah, right. I agree, man. He's just, it's like I really, really like this image, like where it's like I love the breakup in the background with all the different images,
Well, this one, you definitely know the cover inker and the cover colorist because it's Rusty Gilligan and Jay Morse.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Nice. Oh, so so who,
now that
Rusty
you say that,
inked it and Jay did the colors?
Yeah, so Evan penciled, Rusty inked, and Jay did the colors.
Awesome.
Now that you say that, I see that Jay Moore's
the
style.
Scheme, yeah,
the color scheme is there. Wow,
well, you couldn't have got a better guy to do something fantasy. Because speaking of fantasy comics, like Jay Moore.
There you go, Eden Park Tales. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, now who did the interior coloring? Is that Evan?
Everything in the interior is Evan.
Okay, yeah, because this looks really nice. Like just the colors on this to create like the magic, really, really cool stuff. So what tier are you recommended to people? Is it the featured one?
So I want to let people know to get the Fletcher variant cover because Alana Fletcher, who actually did my covers for both Demon Riders and Born of Magic, I contacted her. She's like, yeah, let's do this. You get her work. It's a special edition. You also get Rusty, Jay, and Evan's cover in there as well in an interior. So you get the best of both worlds in that. I think, let me double check the story because I'm pretty sure that Alana's cover is shown in the story.
Is it on here? Is it?
Should be somewhere on here.
I mean, these interior pages are great. I mean, look, this one I like a lot. This one where he's in some kind of mirror thing and he's just looking around and trying to figure out how to. I imagine this is him trying to escape something. That's
absolutely so
looks great.
This is part 1 of a 6-part saga, and so we're going through what we call like the elements, and this element is light, so we're going to have a lot of different playing with light on it.
Very cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
Evan was a great find. I mean, you got a dragon in this too. It's very cool. Very cool. Like, I mean, look at this page. It's awesome. Good action. Like, really good action. Really flows nice. So something like this, like, do you like this page in general? Like, do you describe the action, or do you like let Evan just go nuts on it? Just say have him fight this dragon, and then Evan does the rest.
I give him like bare minimum. Like in fight scene scripts, at times I've given him literally like a sentence. There have been fight scene pages where I've said like, hey, in this page, there's a fight scene that goes on for 5 panels, and here's who wins at the end. Okay. Like,
he just kind of does it on his own.
Exactly. Like, Johnny, if this were an AEW script, they'd probably send it back to the writer going, give me more, you idiot.
That's great, man. Like, I was just thinking to myself too, specifically that when you have as good of a working relationship as you do with Evan, given how much you guys have worked on together, it's almost like you don't need to elaborate too deeply, because you guys are kind of already on the same wavelength. You guys are already on the same page with the characters. I'm pretty sure there's probably very little, and it might be overstepping it. There's very little that you can write that surprises him, or he goes, oh, wow, this is not something I expected. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
I think usually I get to write a couple of things, twists per issue, where he's like, I did not see that coming, which really makes me very happy about that.
But I mean, even just creatively with art-wise, like I'm sure there's curveballs that, he doesn't see any curveballs when it comes to the artwork, is kind of what I meant more.
I don't think so. There's never been a time where Evans like texted me out of the blue going, you're insane.
I've had that one, good. Believe me.
Oh, have you?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you get an artist that, like does, if you have a really a detailed drawing, you kind of like want to.
Well, Chris Madden cursed me out on my Surrounded by Death San Diego cover.
Did he really?
Only because that was so detailed, and like he was so up for the challenge, but I don't think he realized like the scope of like, oh wow, this is like heavy duty, and it was like kind of a short period of time because I was trying to hit a window, right? For Comic-Con. And it's just like, it was like some of the hardest work he's put into a cover was mine. And he goes, you're crazy. I'm even crazier. Let's do this. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember seeing, I don't know if you guys ever saw that there's someone put out a comic strip about like a writer and an artist working together at a Comic-Con. And it was like the writer's just describing this beautiful landscape, that the artist is going to draw, and then the gag of it was the artist jumping over seats going, I'll kill you, he's making him draw so much stuff.
I remember that because the writer was like, so here's the difference between movies and comics. Like, you actually have to pay like all the CGI, you have to actually get all the special effects. Whereas I can just tell my artist to do this and he'll do it. And the artist is, I will tear your heart apart.
Yeah, right. But you know what? Like, you can always tell when an artist is just hacking something out, or if he's really enjoying what he's doing. And you can tell in these pages that Evan's having a blast. I
was about to say, to Evan and all the artists out there, cheers.
Yeah, I imagine like, does he like to draw fantasy stuff in general? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, because like you can see it on the page. I mean,
so every writer, and if you're a burgeoning comics writer watching this, and you're trying to hire an artist, like a specific artist, to work on something, don't give him something. Don't give her something. Give them 5 things. Give them 10 things. Give them 10 ideas with like 4 or 5 different genres, and let them pick. I gave Evan a few ideas, like He worked for me on a short story prose collection illustrating single pages. Then he worked for me in a book that Johnny was in for Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, The Terrible Twos. And then we were going to start this sort of thing. And I had given him a few ideas, and he's like, I love this Legends of the Realm stuff most of all. And I'm like, perfect. That's what we're doing.
When you're talking about like when you pitch an artist like that wants to work with you, you give them a few different projects.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You should like, there are times when you like have to reach out into the ether going, hey, I need an artist to do like a fantasy project, or I need someone who's going to do a noir superhero project. And you like post on Facebook, Twitter, socials, Upwork, and the like. My advice, if that's the way you're going to do it, really examine everyone's DeviantArt, their portfolio, their website, and you don't just look at their technical skill, their use of color. Don't just look at their sequentials, especially don't just look at their splash pages, but look at the content of what they're doing, especially when it's their portfolio, the things that they like fought to actually get into and present. These are the things that they are passionate about. They're the ones that they worked the hardest on and really brought to the forefront. If you're a fantasy writer and you're seeing page after page after page of horror and science fiction and superhero after superhero after superhero,
might not be the
really
right
want to
artist.
look somewhere else.
Right.
Even if they're great, there are amazing military sci-fi guys. Like, I think
it's true though what you're saying. Like, I agree 100%. Like, you guys both know Frankie Washington. I mean, like, trying to get him to draw something besides a monster, it's like, forget it. You know what I mean? Because he loves that stuff, like. I get that. I also would say definitely out of everything you just said too, the sequentials need to be there before like a beautiful splash page before, so because you're making a comic and like that's arguably the most important part of the comic is people have to be able to follow it. You know what I mean? So I'd say what you're saying is 100% true. Find something that they're passionate about, but also make sure they have the sequentials as well. Like, I think that's a huge key, Definitely.
Or even just like the content of their character too. Sometimes you just never know.
Yeah, see if you mesh,
somebody could be a fantastic artist, right? Their portfolio could look great, but then they could be flaky as hell. I know I've been burned by some flashy artwork on Twitter that when I tried to work with them and give them a half down payment, I never saw the rest of it after, It's just one of those things. You got to really like be very selective about who you're working with, not just by the basis of their portfolio, but the character of the individual.
Yeah, you gotta kind of make sure that they're actually looking for work too,
Right.
Because it's like, hey, draw my book, like and the guy's like, yeah, screw you. Right? So it's definitely a lot of finesse in getting the artists, to come on your project,
Yeah,
because I mean,
sure.
honestly, they're doing all the heavy lifting if you think about it. You know what I mean? So it's always important to get that.
Don't undercut the writing process too.
No,
that could be taxed. I know illustrating is a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Well,
but it's like,
yeah, I mean,
crafting a script can be just as complex, and just in my opinion.
I agree. No, because if you put all the time that you actually think of, like I said, like when I think of a story, it's months. Like I'm putting different pieces together in my head and this and that. So yes, I mean, yeah, definitely. I guess it's more like when you actually write the script, the time involved in that versus like how long it takes for someone to draw the artwork is what I was kind of getting at, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Jack, you were going to say something.
What I was going to add on to that is if these people are involved enough in the comics world, After a few years, you start to get to the point where you're Facebook friends with enough people where it's like, oh, hi, I'm going to just double check and email this writer really quick. How's this artist? And that's the big thing that is both a benefit and a curse of the comics community. It's small. Like, especially the indie comics community, especially like if we're like chatting and hitting the con scene, after a while it's like, hey, everyone's heard of Johnny C. Hey, everyone's heard of Russell Nolte. Everyone's heard of Tyler James. Everyone has heard of Keith Gleason. We're hitting. If someone's a dick to you, we're gonna hear about it.
Yeah, word gets around for sure.
Definitely. And you're right. It's such a small community that and I think most creators help each other in a lot of ways, I think, but yeah, there is some that, you do hear about if they're a problem or whatever,
Yeah, the table stealers and all, all the ilk, yeah.
And then you hear about they either change their behavior or they change their medium.
Yes, that's true.
Well, the thing is, too, it's like this such a small, not only a small industry as far as like the indie community, but like the readership is growing smaller and smaller by the day, too, So
or more niche, even,
it's more niche,
yeah.
So it's tougher in a lot of regards, just everywhere, like I was even telling like people at work today about when I go part-time, I was like, it's a risk because you're trying to put full force into an industry that readership, people don't read physical media anymore, it's like it's just dying and
or that's probably what I'd say is kind of growing smaller is the physical media, unless we have some type of cultural change where it's like it's a boom and people go back like LPs, right? People are picking up records again and things like that. Unless we have like a boom where people want to go back to physical comics, I see it becoming more and more digital each day, and that's transforming. Not to say there aren't the people who will buy physical books, but I feel like that window is starting to narrow.
It is. It's when you look at kids, right? And I've talked to this with a bunch of people. It's like they're used to video games and they're used to their phone. When you give them a
sounding
comic,
like old timers right now, Keith.
Yeah, I know.
We're sounding like cranky old men right now.
No, but you hand them a comic, right? And it's like it's so archaic. You know what I mean? It's like when they look at it, to them they're thinking like, oh, this is old man stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's like because they look at it and they're like, what am I doing with this thing? You know what I mean? Like that's what it kind of is.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just but it's what we're fighting. I mean, we've been fighting that same thing for 20 years, 30 years now. So
which means it's not going away. It's just cyclical, right?
Yeah,
it's just circling back around over and over again.
Although, the doom and gloom stuff seems a little more prevalent nowadays than it did, I'd say even 10 years ago, I check in on the numbers every now and then and it's like lower and lower, it's like crazy.
But that's also the nature of the world. That's the nature of the world right now too.
Yeah,
given,
true. I don't think COVID's helping at all. That's
yeah. But go on, Jack. What were you going to say?
The numbers, it depends on how you look at them. Like if you were to go just by single issues in comic book stores, definitely they are going down, but graphic novel sales are actually rising. They're still rising. And a lot of that is thanks to the weirdest places, of course, like Penguin and Random House. Kids are getting a lot more involved in graphic novels than before.
Stuff,
and you can blame people like Dave Pilkey from Captain Underpants and Dogman.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Like those sorts of comics. And I know there will be some gatekeepers my age, your age, or our parents' age were like, that's not real comics. And I'm like, no, but it's in a comic format. They bought it and they're reading comics, and they may
it's
not.
a training ground. Yeah. Like I consider that stuff kind of a training ground to the other stuff, you know?
Yeah,
It's just,
for sure.
I just wish like the you know, like Marvel and DC would go back to writing comics the way like Stan Lee did, where it's like the thought behind it was always every issue is somebody's first issue. You know what I mean? So it's like you just could jump in anywhere and like know what's going on and just instantly pick it up, you know, and they don't really do that anymore, you know?
So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt,
Oh,
but
no.
I was just gonna say, we were talking about the top of the show, Supernatural. That's the type of show where they have an overarching theme, but you could almost pop into any episode, and it's very standalone, and you know, you could really just pick it up and bite it from any angle. Where it's very exciting. I don't know, Jack, you were saying you're getting through Supernatural right now. Wouldn't you agree that's kind of very heavily handed on the way comics are just are displayed and distributed in terms of the story?
I would agree with that. Definitely for Supernatural, there were, if you had to go with shows from my childhood, that would be the 90s comics ones, Spider-Man, X-Men,
Yep.
Batman, the animated series, Avatar: The Last Airbender had an overarching narrative, but at the exact same time, villain of the week.
Yeah, that's sort of what comics should get back to. Like, I feel like not a lot of people are doing that kind of story anymore in comics, you know? It seems to just be in shows and things like that. Like the TV shows still get that, hey, somebody might just be tuning in for the first time tonight, you know, that kind of thing, you know?
I absolutely agree, but it's hard. People forget that
it is
a story over 24 pages, 24, is genuinely hard. Like Legends of the Realm, each of the first 5 issues that people are going to read out of this one is in that same vein, Keith. I wanted to do, you've got a story in the comic, beginning, middle, end, in that book. You pick it up, you put it down, you never read another issue. You've got a full story. And for the first 5 issues, and the 6th ties it all together and completes it.
Perfect.
But it's hard. Like, it's easier to write 1,000 words than 100 at times. It's all of us are writers here. It's so much easier to do a 3-issue arc than it is to do a single issue arc.
Yeah, or even do like a 10-page story or something, you know? Like
exactly.
Trying to figure out that beginning, middle, and end in 10 pages is kind of tough, you know? Totally get that. Totally.
I was just going to say, when I started doing short stories, my first one actually being the one that was in Cthulhu, the first Cthulhu we were in together there, Jack. Actually, you were in Monsters. You missed out the other one, and then you were in part 2, right? If I remember correctly.
I was in Cthulhu 1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah, all right. Yeah. That's right. It was 1 and 2. So yeah, doing that first, and I think I even messaged you when I was in the process of writing that. It was like, I found it such a challenge to have to write a short story. I had it at 8 pages, and I was like, I had to get it down to 6, and it was like so hard. It's like, I have to cut this, I have to condense this, and it's like, it's one of those challenging things. It's like, where they don't, you know, you got to kill your darlings, so to speak, right?
we got some actually great comments here. Amy said, I think the chronic complainers who bash every show while you're at it get really annoying very quickly. So that's talking back to the small indie community, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Grow Canvas Grow. Hey, thanks for joining us. He said, where are you guys from? Very similar stories with the con scene here in California. Yeah. Johnny, you often go to California. Is the same there, would you say? Or?
So I only know of smaller section of the community, so I only have kind of a taste of it, and I haven't seen things like that. I feel like they're more stronger knit. Like, I always felt like New York and California had tighter indie comic communities than here in the Northeast. But I guess it's the same everywhere. It's just a matter of the pocket that you're in, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But Johnny, you can definitely drop like 3 or 4 names, and I'm sure Grow Canvas Grow can be like, oh yeah, I know this guy. I've hung out with.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, if I'm going to go that far, I'd say, Don Nguyen, anybody over at the Comic Bug or Atomic Basement. Let's see, Jim Andrew Clark, Chris Mays, Russell's East Coast. West Coaster. There's a few people.
Awesome. Harry says what you really need to hope for is a solar flare to blow out satellites. Then physical books will come back. Yeah.
I love the
to you, Harry. We like the best part of the internet is it's made things possible for us. Like I can't get Legends of the Realm made without the internet. Evan lives in Greece.
Right.
Right, same with me. I got my artist is in Indonesia, so yeah, it's the same exact thing. It's like a blessing and a curse, Exactly. One of those things. My wife says kids will still need something to read when they get grounded, and mom and dad take the screens away. Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, maybe if you throw them a comic. But you don't want to make the comic like the punishment, because then they'll never want to read.
I don't know. So here's what happened for me. Like every year you had a camping trip, and it was up in Acadia, Mount Desert Island. And literally once you hit the bridge going on Mount Desert Island, it was, hey, phones go away, Game Boys go away. You can date me there when I can say actual Game Boys and Game Boy go away. But you could still read your books all the time. So that was the entertainment source. So that's where I really fell in love with reading. Like, it wasn't a punishment to go into books. It was a good escape, and it was a loophole.
Nice, yeah.
Yes.
Because you don't tell your parents you really like that more.
So it's kind of funny. It's like, so nowadays, we can just set something to record on the DVR, or we can stream it, and it's there whenever we want it, and it's very convenient and easy, and it's very easy to take for granted, right? Back in the day, and you spoke of this earlier, Jack, the 90s cartoons that were so influential to a lot of people, with like 90s X-Men, right? Unless you had a VCR with a diligent timer set up, like if you didn't watch that on Saturday morning, you missed it. Unless you're going to catch a rerun, right? And then, so Marvel put out a series called
Forever if you missed it.
Yeah, it was gone. Exactly. So Marvel put out a series called X-Men Adventures, which was basically an adaptation of every episode. And it was almost like a way of rewatching the episode by reading it in comic format. And I could recall like missing an episode and going to the store and like picking up that issue.
Yeah.
Just till because I missed the episode, you know what I mean? And then oh, that was a really good episode. I want to revisit this. Oh, it's based on a bigger storyline of other stuff. Oh, let me read that. And it really just opens it up.
That's what the crack.
That's how it starts.
That's when the crack cocaine sets in,
Yes.
Saturday morning cartoons, like every
gateway.
Yeah, it was a gateway, but it was also a time management thing, because you probably had the exact same type of parents that I did, and they like restricted your TV time to like only a couple, and you had to you had to manage going, am I going to watch Static Shock? Am I going to watch this show? Am I going to watch that show?
No, the problem I had was fighting my brother for like we had this like split the time, like, oh, he watches this and I have to watch this, and then like back and forth, like.
But the beauty of that is that you could then now potentially be opened up to things you wouldn't normally watch.
Yes, yeah. Potentially.
Yeah.
But like,
or you just have a fist fight.
Oh yeah, definitely. ID Crisis says that is exactly what makes me not want to try anything new, because I'm afraid I'll be confused from any point I jump in at. Okay, so that was a reference
to like the single issues.
Yes,
like this is one of the reasons why I like what DC is doing with what's it called, Black Label.
Yes, those are great. Yep, it's just like a mini series or a couple issues, and it's like one complete story. Yeah, I like that too. I agree with you.
It reminds me of like Marvel Knights. That was something where it's like you don't have to be reading Amazing Spider-Man to read the Marvel Knights Spider-Man, or you know what I mean, or you don't have to be like deep into the Marvel universe to be able to pick up Punisher Max.
Yes,
because that felt like an HBO series, like completely separate from the rest of the Marvel universe. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, definitely. Harry said, "Sweet, my entire family is in Greece." That's awesome, Harry. I didn't know
cool.
that. And Canvas says, "I'll look out for them." LOL. We're in the Bay Area. First time checking out the podcast. Good stuff. Any indie comics you would recommend from your area? Oh,
so
that's
like all of ours.
Oh
Yeah.
Yes.
Legends of the Realm. It's on Kickstarter right now. You don't want to miss it.
That is right here at the link. If you want to go in the chat, that's Jack's book. Johnny has a book called Sartana and Surrounded by Death. And I have Mighty Mascots, which you get through Alterna or on the winter campaign that we showed at the beginning of the show. But yeah, there's also, I would say, speaking of just indie comics, New England area has a lot of great creators, Like I think we're one of the better pockets from where I've been around and everything. I feel there's like a lot of good creators up in our neck of the woods. Wouldn't you guys say?
We have good creators. I don't think we have a solid community.
No, we don't.
Yes, I agree with you there. Like we don't have like
the closest we got is like Boston Comics Roundtable, which is solid literally for the people in Boston. Like no shade thrown to them. They do really great work. It's just
but it's it's
hard to get into Boston, especially with a kid now.
Yes, and I think like whenever I see Boston, like I think about when I was doing stand-up back in the day, and all those groups are just like kind of, I don't want to say snotty, but like they weren't welcoming. I don't feel like I'd be welcome there. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, and it's the tough thing too, is because there's a lot of niche groups. Like we have communities, but they're pockets where it's just niches of people, right?
Yeah.
And like even when me, Jack, and Josh were trying to do like the Barnstormer stuff, where we were trying to like really branch out and build a stronger community, it was very challenging because we'd find ourselves butting heads, or kind of being like somebody's like, oh, I already kind of hang out with this crew, or I already do this thing. So it was just tough. It was tough to pull together a crew, but it was also nice in the sense that we were trying, and we were also, kind of like getting to know each other as creators and going through the paces and, kind of like sharpening ourselves in terms of going out there and promoting ourselves and being those type of creators,
Yeah, definitely.
Where we hit the pavement, we take it to the streets,
And what Canvas Grow says here, it's like it's hard to find communities, especially when it comes to comics, gaming, and comedy. Yeah, it's true.
I think
Boston is cliquey. Yeah, definitely. But I imagine that's everywhere. Right? Like, I can't imagine it's just exclusive to Boston,
it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But when I was in New York, I was able to fit in with that group like that. It was just like, I showed up to a pizza place one day because somebody handed me a flyer, said, come here after New York Comic Con. And next thing I know, I met so many creators through just that one invitation where it branched out and it became a thing. And Creator After Con Network is still kind of alive and out there, not as big as it was. It's big as it is for New York Comic Con. People always go to the after party for that show. But it really just started with a bunch of guys in a pizza place. And it was a very easy community to just kind of step into. Whereas I don't feel like Boston has that per se, and maybe California to a lesser extent. But again, I've got pretty good experience, hanging out and talking with creators out in the California side of things too. So,
yeah, definitely. It's one of those things. It's like that would be kind of cool if somebody started something around here that could be like a community thing, and But I don't even know where, how you would start something like that. You probably would have to start with like a comic book store or something where the owner is a creator, and then like, you would go there for like hangouts and, things like that. Or,
well, I think Big Bad Kids Press operates out of Kamikaze, right?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So there's those guys.
That's is that Matt? Trying to think what his name is. I'm blanking on it. Matt something. One of those guys. You know who I'm talking about?
I know exactly who you're talking about. The name doesn't ring.
Matt Bissett.
Matt Bissett. That's it.
He's one of the guys. And then the owner of Kamikaze is one of them too, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Are they still putting out books? I haven't seen anything from them in a while. But I haven't also been to Kamikaze in a long time either. So
it's been a few. What were you going to say, Jack?
So Grow Canvas Grow. If you're ever in the 10 minutes outside of Boston area, you've just been given the major lay down in everything that's been going on.
Yeah.
Well, he has to look no further than the three of us, right? We'll hang out with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Find us at a show. We'll all hang out.
Plastic City Comic-Con coming this July.
There's Plastic City. I'm seeing
Plastic will be the new hotspot for creators. It kind of is, right?
It is
a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
And then, my wife said maybe Wicked Comic-Con can help spawn something.
Yes, I'm so excited for Wicked Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And it's a one-day show. I love that. The kind of I want to say copying, but I hope I inspired that. Like the one day, like big
the one day show. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Jack?
So you both will love this. So friends of mine on Twitter are trying to figure out, like, they live in New York and they're like, okay, I can do one of these two conventions. I'm an indie comics creator. Am I going to Connecticut for Terrificon, or am I going to Boston for Boston Fan Expo? And pretty much to a creator, everyone's like, there's technically more traffic in Boston, but everyone's like, go to Connecticut, go to Terrificon. And even
is us, better show.
We all wouldn't have to pay hotel prices to go into Boston. And I think all of us are like, we'll take the hotels. We'll go to Terrificon instead. This one, we are bashing Boston Fan Expo a little bit.
Yeah, but that goes down to like knowing what kind of shows are out there. Like, I think if you go to Fan Expo, you should not expect that it's a comic show. You know what I mean? Like, it's a celebrity fest. Like, some people don't know that, but like, you might do okay. Like, I've heard mixed things at that show. I haven't been. I really have not done that show since it became Fan Expo. So
Josh has. I have rolled through there, and like, even going up to like the major comics guys. I'm talking Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor. I'm talking like even Straczynski and those guys. They're shuffled off to one corner and.
They do everything to keep you away from them. Yeah, definitely.
Meanwhile, Terrificon, all three of us, we do Terrificon every year. Like, Artist Alley just opened up its applications like a couple of days ago. I'm pretty sure all of us are like, okay, how can we get into Terrificon?
That was even during the pandemic. That was one of my best shows this past year. Everything seemed to be down, but Terrificon was up for me, and so wasn't KidsCon. So
I think Terrificon was also perfectly timed at things reopening, people wanting to get out. It was like really kind of like
major show too that opened up around here. Yeah, definitely.
Yep,
definitely.
Absolutely.
I couldn't go. I had a 6-day-old, and
I know. I remember that was like right at that point. Yeah,
right at the beginning, man.
It was good though, Jack. It was different. It like
if I had gone to Terrificon,
Friday was a big day, and then it kind of was the other days after that, which was weird. That never happens. But
yeah,
what were you gonna say?
if I had gone on Thursday, I would have come back on Monday, and on Tuesday there would have been a homicide announcement and no one taking charges.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear that. And no one's faulting you for that. All right, so we should probably start wrapping up. We're about at 90 minutes, if you can believe it or not. We've been
time flew by. It's great when you just chit chat and talking shop with your friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining us, Grow Canvas Grow. He said I gotta head out. Just follow the channel. Thanks a lot. Found you guys on Instagram. Wow. We'll check out future streams. Hope you guys have a great night. You too, man.
Awesome,
Thanks for joining us. Seem like a good dude. All right, cool. That's awesome. That's how we do it around here, John.
That's how we grow. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go around the room. Jack, where can people find you?
So they can find me on Twitter at JackHolderAI. You can find me on Facebook and on my website, Arcane Industries, which everyone always misspells. Just do industries and then throw a K after that first N, and you're golden.
Like Industries, yeah.
And you can find the campaign, which is going on until February 3rd. The short link is inked.pub/legends.
Let me see if I can share it here in the chat too for everybody. I'm going to put it in the chat.
I know your
This is the Kickstarter.
wife's really good about posting it.
There we go.
There we go. Yes. You and everyone can see it in the comments right now. It's really good. It's epic fantasy, exactly as you would want it to. We're just $90 away from 2K, awesome. And one backer away from 85.
Very cool.
So check that out.
That's awesome, dude. So yeah, that's great for especially this time of year, and you've been live for 9 days. That's pretty good.
It's awesome. You're tracking very well, man.
And I will say too, definitely check this out, especially if you're a fantasy fan. And it does have elements of like a good superhero book. There's lots of great action pages, high fantasy, great art, great story. So yeah, definitely check this one out. How about you, Johnny? What do you got going on? Anything you want to promote?
The only thing I'd say is just keep, if you back the Surrounded by Death campaign, keep an eye on your mailboxes. Fulfillment's happening, and books are getting sent out. The only other thing I want to do is thank my very good friend Jack Holder for coming on the show, taking the time to promote the campaign. Love you, man. Best of luck with Legends of the Realm. I hope we find you get to that point and you hit. And just thanks everybody for watching. Be cool to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And Johnny, when you fulfill your campaign, don't mail ours. Just give it to us next time I see you. That way you can save some postage.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
And then for me, just like the top of the show, check out the Alterna winter campaign. It's the new pre-order system. The way Alterna is going to be doing pre-order books going forward. Mighty Mascots 5 and 6 are on there. So if you missed my original campaign, now you can get them again. So check that out. Without further ado, if you guys are good, I guess we'll end this episode. We're back to our bi-weekly schedule, so we won't be back until, let me see, the 26th.
26th,
next Wednesday, but we'll be back the following Wednesday. So
and that is Nick and Gilbert, I believe, right?
Yes, two of the guys we met at San Diego Special Edition. Two awesome guys. And Gilbert's like an actor that's actually in stuff. Which is awesome, So
it'd be cool to have him talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, definitely. So join us in the 26th.
2 weeks.
2 weeks on Wednesday, 26th normal time. Same indie time, same indie channel, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the new people that joined us in the chat tonight. It was nice chatting with you guys. We love seeing your comments. We love talking about this industry, this crazy industry. So,
Yeah, everybody back Legends of the Realm.
Yes.
Floated Dream. Back
Definitely.
to Kickstarter.
All right. And all right, guys, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your week. Peace.